Good morning, students. It is Mrs. D, and we are having lunchtime with Mrs. D. Exciting nerd updates in the world. Well, not as many as we would like, but we're also going to shift gears a little bit. We've been on Marvel for a while because, frankly, is not Marvel the sort of like king of the nerd world right now? I mean, they have their fingers in so many pies. We're looking at Marvel as sort of being the source for most of our entertainment needs. I also think it very likely, given the fact that they're planning to expand to Disney Plus, more on that in a bit. They're going to start dominating screen time as well as movie screen time. They're going to be on TVs. They're going to be on movie screens. It's going to go relaunching the comics, probably bringing comics more to a traditional mass media as opposed to sort of the nerd platform that they are. I actually think they're going to go grab a regular book too, like young adult novels. I was unaware that they'd been publishing them. So we have things in the vein of Black Widow novels and things like that. It's pretty cool. Might pick some up. They finally, it's been more than a year, I think. We have a release date for WandaVision. So January the 15th, they are officially dodging 2020. We thought maybe they'll get in on 2020 with a December release for WandaVision, but no. They thought they would just not tempt fate. So January the 15th, set your calendars. This is going to be a long little process for me. That's right by my birthday, so looks like I know what I'm getting. Just some alone time for Mama to watch this by herself. I believe that they're dropping the episodes individually too, which is a shame. They should allow the binging. I know why they're not, but they should. I get it. It's a marketing thing. It's a money-making thing. If you drop all the episodes individually, you create a scenario where people can sort of get on the streaming service for a couple of days, pay for a month, then get off. It's its own sort of weird thing. You want to encourage people to stay on a streaming service for longer because streaming services are pay per month. So we're all just going to pay all this money forever. WandaVision coming. Falcon and the Winter Soldier finished filming. They have confirmed many fun things for Spider-Man 3, and I was digging through the Nethersphere, and it seems that other people agree that Brie Larson is destroying what could be a really excellent component of their lineup. So there's some additional rumors that Brie Larson's going to be kind of tucked away to the side, which is great. But I am here to shift gears and go Star Wars on you. So a background piece on me and Star Wars. I love Star Wars. My parents are not nerd people at all. So the hardest part of growing up in a pre-internet age was you didn't know that you liked certain things until you stumbled across them. And then you didn't know who else liked them, and you had to be secure enough in your own nerddom to just be I love this thing, and I'm going to go at it. I wasn't always the most self-confident nerd. When I was the only person in the good old-fashioned Tinton Falls Middle School who had her entire locker plastered wall to wall with Star Wars Phantom Menace, I was the only one who thought it was really great. I fell for Star Wars. When I was a kid, my parents allowed the Christmas time screening of Star Wars. So to me, it's seasonal. To me, wintertime is Star Wars time. Because they always had the movies playing on TMC or something during Christmas. When you're thinking of Star Wars, I think of the original 3, then I think of the prequels, which came out when I was a kid. And they sort of reinvigorated what I thought of as something older that my uncle liked to watch with me around Christmas was suddenly for me again. I then took a deep dive. I have read all of the Jedi Apprentice books. I have read in the 80 to 90% of the existing expanded universe material. I've not watched the terrible Christmas movie because we all need something to look forward to, I guess. But like I was a deep expanded universe reader of Star Wars. Like I owned pretty much all of them. In a time when I moved into my first house and I had to take a bunch of my stuff with me, I actually like found all of these books, and I think I gave them to my brother-in-law because he's also a huge nerd. Shout out, Bill. I was one of the people, like when Force Awakens happened, I was like cautiously optimistic this could be amazing. Saw Force Awakens on opening night. Actually liked Force Awakens. I thought it was good for what it was. It should be fan service. There should be like the nods we expect. It shouldn't be something so far outside the scope. And frankly, this is going to be revolutionary to say, Star Wars should be run by people who love Star Wars and understand it and don't see it as just a marketing ploy. Which is where the new movies took this drastic shift and change. Rogue One is never something I am thinking of when I'm making this commentary. Force Awakens, I think, okay, we can accept Force Awakens. Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, all this nonsense shouldn't ever have been made. I didn't like the Solo movie. It wasn't terrible. It was better than I feared it was going to be. But we didn't need it for anything, really, except what? Darth Maul's still alive. You could have done that a million ways. You made a really amazing movie in Rogue One. It is potentially the best thing that they have done. It was adult. Actually, borderline too adult, because Star Wars usually was a little more open to different people. In the original trilogy, I'm not saying that there are not huge flaws with it. It happened to do something for me, like it made me love something. Like it made me interested in something. I think in the prequels, Phantom Menace, Clone Wars, Revenge of the Sith, two of those movies didn't have to be two separate movies. They could have been one movie. We didn't need three. People's obsession with the narrative trilogy, is just overwhelming. It overwhelms common sense. You don't need it. It's nice when it works. And when it works well, it works amazingly well. But it doesn't always work well. People have no self-control. They just assume the narrative 3 improves everything. Anyway. In this complicated love I have for Star Wars, where I want it to be awesome. Like, no one was sitting there more excited than me. Students that had me then probably remember me sitting going, all right, listen, Kylo Ren is totally 100% Jason Solo. That's what's happening. Rey is Jaina Solo. We will see Anakin Solo. He exists. Could be Poe Dameron. Like, I was one of these deep dive people where I was like, we're gonna see the twins. Chewbacca's gonna die. It's okay, we killed Han. Fine, totally fine. It's all right. We're gonna do all these other things. And then none of it happened. I don't even like acknowledging anything after Force Awakens. I really don't. But then The Mandalorian came. I honestly wasn't interested in it at first because my heart had been broken too many times by a lot of the new things that they were doing. But here we are. We are on season 2 of The Mandalorian. It might be the best thing on television. The only downside to season 2 currently is that they are releasing per episode. They are not allowing the binge. And I guess they did that last time, but I was so hesitant to watch Mandalorian that I didn't pick on to Mandalorian until it was like one episode away from being finished. So I effectively binged. And it was amazing because there are episodes, as in any season, that serve a purpose to push us to a better episode. Like episode 2, which I think is technically chapter 10 of Mandalorian. It was kind of a nothing burger, but it did effectively get you to episode 3, which was chapter 11, The Heiress, and that just aired, I guess, at midnight. I watched it this morning because Fridays are my day to watch my TV show in the morning alone while my children sleep and my husband watches them. It's my favorite day. I also get to wear jeans to work, doubles down on the pleasure. I have time to get coffee in the morning. It's like the greatest adult pleasures in the world. Anywho, I watched it this morning, and kids, we're in a deep dive here. The only thing I can say about my Star Wars love that is probably an actual problem is that I never got to watch Clone Wars. and Star Wars Rebels. I didn't watch them because by the time they were dropped, I was a little too old for cartoons, and it was like a thing I didn't want to do. And then by the time I didn't care anymore and I was watching cartoons again, I've missed all of it. That's a lot. A couple of years ago, I had a student, shout out John Bayona, who gave me these are the episodes, the essential episodes of Clone Wars to watch. And that was amazing because he gave me the essential watching guide, and yet that's a lot of TV. I don't know when I'm watching it. But I know a lot about Clone Wars and Rebels because I still really love the lore, and I go back through the lore a lot. So, like, I know who Ahsoka Tano is, and we're getting Ahsoka Tano. Ahsoka Tano. Might have an O on the end. But we are getting this interconnected universe in a way that we haven't had before. And a lot of fans, like me, who were expanded universe fans, were pissed when Disney was like, that's not canon anymore. Screw you. It's been canon for decades. Like, this is real. This is what we like. This is what we're here for. And then they were like, Clone Wars. Meh. We're not really sure that that's going to be part of it. Maybe it is. Yeah, like it is, but it isn't, but it is, but it isn't. Kind of is. What I didn't like is that Clone Wars and the expanded universe and like the Jedi Apprentice universe, like they don't all fold in on each other and communicate. Like there's definitely things that contradict each other. But those three things talked a little bit more towards one another than like the actual new stuff they've been producing. I think it's Kathleen Kennedy at the helm of Star Wars right now, and she's nosediving it into the ground. If Mandalorian, the television show, has taught us one thing, it has taught us that Jon Favreau should be given complete creative control over Star Wars. Hand it to the man. Just give it to him. Let him have it as his little baby Yoda. Let him have it. Let him raise it. He is the only one doing it right. He had this, they're not new because they're not young necessarily, but there's like a new clutch of directors that are all kind of fostering each other, and they're all working on The Mandalorian, and it's amazing. You have Bryce Dallas Howard, who knew that the directing gene is as strong as everything else, so like she's following in Daddy Ron Howard's footsteps. He's amazing. Taika Waititi, how has this man not been given more work until this part of his life? Like, how did it take him this long to be given these projects? If this man wants a project, give it to him. Taika Waititi has all of the practical knowledge, the skill knowledge. He has a good handle on CGI. It doesn't overwhelm. But he also has the best sense of humor. Like, he kind of knows exactly where to be funny and when to kind of realize that they want us to be funny, so we shouldn't be. We should kind of subvert expectations, to make a Game of Thrones reference where the writers just destroyed something beautiful because they thought that's how you subvert expectations. Fantasy fandom people get nuts. I don't have the restrained vocabulary to describe how much I hate what happened to Game of Thrones. But Star Wars. The Mandalorian is doing some really interesting things. We're going to see the Death Watch go up against the traditional Mandalorians. We have Boba Fett being reintroduced, which, let the man be eaten by a Sarlacc. I mean, in Favreau we trust, really, truly. Like, if Jon Favreau's found a way to do this that I'm not going to hate, let him have it. But, I mean, he was eaten by a Sarlacc. We should have let that go. I get bringing back the armor, but bringing back Fett himself. And I say that loving Tamora Morrison and thinking he should be in every movie that's ever made. But Mandalorian season 2, episode 3, chapter 11, was amazing. We got Katie Sackhoff, we got Bo-Katan. We're going to have someone clearly questing to become the Mandalore. I low-key believe it won't actually be Bo-Katan. I think Bo-Katan's probably going to become like, where the armorer in the season 1 was clearly like sort of the head of the covert clan that raised the Mandalorian, Din Djarin. She was like the mama bear, right? Like, they all looked to her. So that's all right. But Bo-Katan, now on the other side of the non-religious zealot Mandalores, kind of, I think, going to be that new representation for him, because he's looking for someone effectively to parent him. Like, he was taken in as a foundling, as an orphan of war, and he stuck with them because they raised him and they took him in and they kept him safe and they trained him and loved him in their own weird Mandalorian way. And that's why he doesn't want to betray the people that raised him. But, like, on the other side here, we have, like, this other sect of Mandalores. And we've seen, especially in season 1 with the Widow, the temptation that he has to sort of take off the helmet and be a little bit more normal. We see that he has this incredible, like, old school D&D, like, character profile. He is chaotic good. He's true chaotic good. He knows what's right and what's wrong, and he sticks to it. He's not afraid to make a huge mess doing that. He's not afraid to get himself, like, in way over his head doing it either. Fight me on that if you want to argue for a different character profile, but I say chaotic good. Anyway, I think you have a situation where Bo-Katan essentially becomes like his little mentor character, changes his perspective away from the Death Watch, and then in the fight to become the Mandalore, it's not going to be her, it's going to be him. I think that's right around both subverting expectations and being predictable enough that it's comfortable. There is something about fandoms where they should be like flip-flops or jeans. They should fit well. You go back to the same jeans and the same flip-flops all the time because they're comfortable. You fit in them. Sure, once in a while you try a new style and you might like it, but you don't really go far outside of your expectation set because you don't like being uncomfortable for extended periods of time. Maybe that first day or two when you first put them on and you got to break them in, there's a little discomfort and you're like totally fine with that because it's going to come around, but you don't really like extended periods of discomfort. Fandoms are coping mechanisms for a lot of people. I know that like my 2020 has found me deep diving into back like a lot of my fandoms. Things that I had less and less time for because I had children. And then it's like I'm incredibly stressed all the time because it's 2020 and I'm teaching virtually and hybrid and I have 2 children, one of which is a baby, and I'm fixing up a house, and there's just more. There's more on the list, but that's just all I got for right this second. There's not enough coffee and there is no downtime, really. There's just what can I access like on my phone when I have a child on my shoulder and I'm rocking him in the dark trying to wind down for the day. So like the fandoms have been good because I can access them on my phone, but they're also how I'm not going insane. I know I'm not the only one like that, so I'm happy that Favreau's keeping us somewhat in the area of what we expect. I don't want all of the things I love best to be totally drastically different. You know, it's like coming home for Thanksgiving. Like, I want it to feel normal. But I'm here for The Mandalorian, and we're about to get a Show-Katana next week. So you guys are going to see a whole bunch of excitement coming in on our only full week of school next week. So, hope you guys have had a good week. This has been Lunchtime with Mrs. D. Time to go to class. See you guys later.